Yo, that Raider Nation, it's your boy Dub Raider. With me as always, the man that doesn't need to be in the state to be the MVP of the event, Chris from Protect the Shield podcast. Brother, welcome to another week. Thank you for being here. I know it was a difficult day for both of us, but we made it. How you doing?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm blessed. No complaints here, man. Just love talking Raider ball. As you know, man, this is one of my favorite shows I do every week, man. So I'm always looking forward to it, man. So it's all good my way.
I appreciate you, man. Today, Raider Nation, I usually am sipping on my iced tea, but I stepped it up a notch today.
One of them days.
One of them days. Don't know if YouTube allows that, but I'm sorry. So yeah, Raider Nation, today we have both of our segments, which is Chris's Weekly Word. We're going to be covering Jeanty's stance. I don't know. Charles Woodson's stake in the Browns. Christian Wilkins rumors. Is he hurt? Is he not? Should we pick up a vet wide receiver? What else we got? We're going to do a little shout out to one of my Raider brothers, Lunatic Raider, that I just met at Summer Kickoff. His website, RaiderVision.com. We're going to be talking about that a little bit. And of course, giving a recap of this weekend's Summer Kickoff in Bakersfield, California by Crusader Raiders. So Chris, let's get started with Chris's Weekly Word. So today in Chris's Weekly Word, first thing which for me it seemed kind of weird was the whole attention in Ashton Jeanty's stance when he's in his position to run. Why is this such a big deal?
So for me, I think that, he does have I would say a unique stance where, a few people kind of do it, but he stands straight up. Most backs, they're kind of crouched down a little bit with their hands on their knees or their hands on their thighs. That's just kind of always been the thing for the most part. So, there has been some backs in the past that did kind of stand up. There's some people that try to say that, his stance will cause, unnecessary extra steps or, just something that it wouldn't necessarily work in the NFL. It may slow him down a little bit, his get off and stuff like that. But me personally, it's one of those things, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And Chip Kelly, I guess one of the very first conversations that they had was he wanted to get Jeanty to change his stance, to be have that more lower, traditional running back stance. So, and Jeanty being the, good kid that he is, coachable player, he's kind of adopted it a little bit. So, but we're going to see. We're going to see how long he does it. And when I talk about Chip Kelly in the past, these are like the things that kind of just, kind of rub me the wrong way a little bit. It's like, Chip, just focus on just calling the offense, scheming up plays, like, because he always gets into like just little other stuff. I don't know, man, but I
ain't gonna lie to you, Chris. To me, what this seems like, it's a power play.
Yeah, like you're gonna do it my way.
Like you know what? I'm like, there's a saying supposedly that when you go to jail, you look for the biggest dude in the jail, and you just whack him.
Yeah.
And you take him down.
Yeah. To
show that, you know what? I'm not a person to mess with.
Yeah.
And this is what this feels like to me.
Yeah.
Where he's trying to show his authority over him. Like, I'm the offensive line coach. I'm the one that's going to dictate what goes on in this team. Yes, you are the superstar. Yes, you are the number one pick for the team. But I'm still in charge.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like to me, because just the thought of this player that's been doing this for X amount of years.
At a high level.
Right. And has success with it. What makes you think it's going to hinder him, in the pros when he hasn't even taken one snap?
Yeah.
Now, mind you, when he does start playing, if there is some issue, then yeah, you know what? Let's switch it up.
Yeah.
But right now, trying to change that dynamic, I think it's going to hurt him, because he's going to have to reacclimate, get accustomed to something that he's not accustomed to doing.
Yeah.
So that's why
there's something else to kind of think about, and I don't know, man. It's because of the funny thing before the draft, when it was during the pre-draft, not sure if you saw it, but he did an interview with Gruden. And Gruden asked him about that stance. He's like, what's up with that stance? Are you going to change it when you go to the NFL? And Jeanty was like, no, that's going to be something that I continue to do. It helps me be able to see over. I mean, because he's a short guy. He's 5'8". It helps him kind of be able to scan the defense and all that. It's and I don't know. It's the fact that he's changing. It's like Chip Kelly's kind of forcing that on him. So I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm trying my best to have all the faith in Chip Kelly, but it just reminds me of those Eagle days when he just rubbed a lot of players the wrong way by, he kind of had that Josh McDaniels personality, like you're going to do it my way, or so I don't know, man. But I'm really, really trying to just give him the opportunity to prove me wrong, but I don't like hearing that news, man. Like let the kid cook. Now, if you notice, early in preseason or, the first couple games, he's not looking explosive or he's getting off late, on the snap, then that's one thing. But just starting him off like that day one, I don't like it, but we'll see.
The benefit that we do have in this particular situation is that we have Pete Carroll at the helm. Yeah. So he's going to be the mediator. He's going to be the one to kind of turn the fires down and, kind of like make sure that everything runs accordingly. Yeah. Unfortunately with McDumbass, he was the end all be all of the team. So, exactly. So, that I definitely have faith in that aspect, but still it just didn't seem right. And then I saw the Kate Adams interview, I guess after the fact, and that was like, it showed me the type of individual that Jeanty is, where, he's like, what? This is my job. Yeah. What I'm asked to do.
Very coachable, man. Yeah, very coachable. Because some players would have bucked back,
Oh, definitely.
Imagine Chip Kelly trying to tell Marshawn Lynch that, So it's just,
happen.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen, man. So yeah, exactly. So it's just like, luckily that Jeanty's gonna take it like that, but it's just, I don't know, man. It's just one of those unnecessary things. But maybe I don't know. Maybe it'll work out for the best. But I just want Jeanty to do whatever he has to do to be successful. And if changing his stance helps him, then so be it. But I don't know. It just doesn't look good to me, man.
And another thing that I kind of felt from this particular incident is that it's just clickbait. It's news because there is none. Yeah. Like, oh man, we could actually make a story out of this. Oh, well, look at us. We're talking about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 That's this time of season. Or that's this time of the year, man.
Yeah, man. So it's like if somebody wears the wrong color shoes, I can assure you it's going to hit all the news media.
It's going to be news for sure.
But at the end of the day, for me personally, I don't care if he does a backflip before he touches the ball. As long as he's able to move the ball forward, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
So enough of that. Let's move on to another, I guess, news topic that the Raider Nation's been talking about, which is Charles Woodson buying into the Cleveland Browns. I guess he wants to buy, what is it, like 1% or 0.1%, or I don't know what the percentage is.
So it's like 1%. So he actually just kind of went through the same process that Tom Brady had to go through and Richard Seymour. Me personally, I'm very happy for Charles Woodson.
He's from the area, right?
Yeah. So he's from Fremont, Ohio. So it's it's in Ohio. So I won't say it's close to Cleveland, but yeah, I think it's a good look, man. It's a good look. I mean, I'm down for any player that's making business moves and bettering themselves, getting residual income, own it, like regardless of whatever percentage it is. That's a big deal. Owning a piece of $1 billion company, a multi-billion-dollar company.
Multi-billion, yes.
Yeah, and then
I heard the number breakdown. He put like 5.6 million in. Yeah. But then the 0.1% of like $2 billion is like still a bunch of millions.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
You know, he's still coming up.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to affect him is the Woodson whiskey and the what's the wine that he has?
Yeah, Intercept wine. Yeah,
Intercept wine. Yeah. And then also, he's also had the same stipulations as Tom Brady to when he's commentating, right?
Yeah.
Where he needs to watch what he says.
Oh, yeah. I'll watch what he says. And, you know, he's not going to be able to be in certain buildings and things like that.
Some pretty cool news here out of the Cleveland Browns organization reported by Adam Schefter. But Charles Woodson now is involved in the ownership group for the Cleveland Browns as a limited partner. He's making that whiskey bourbon money, baby. No, jokes aside, man. One of the best players to ever do it. My GOAT defensively, Charles Woodson. This is awesome news. It's cool to see the former players join as an owner now in today's game. So congratulations to Charles Woodson.
Okay. But yeah, so, you know, with Charles Woodson, I'm definitely excited about the opportunity, you know, because, you know, for one, you know, that owner of the Cleveland Browns, what's his name, Jimmy Haslam, I know he actually owns other teams as well. So I know he owns like a soccer team.
Right.
So there's a couple other things I know that he owns. But, you know, I think it'd be good for Charles Woodson, you know, to be able to get his foot in the door, you know, at the end of the day. That's what it's about. You know, get that residual income. You know, I know he put a few million down, but the thing is the NFL is going to just continuously to grow. So, you know, what he put in, he's going to get that back way much more, and it's just going to keep trickling in. You know, the NFL is growing, it's expanding. You know, they're trying to get it, you know, really big international. You know, that's why it gets way more international games. Remember back in the day, there would only be one international game. Now there's like 3 or 4, and they're going to different places.
Germany, England, Brazil.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with Mexico, but Mexico was
Mexico. Yeah, they had that, and even like just the way they had the program with the international players. You know,
where they add it's one extra player, right?
Yeah, one extra player that doesn't count towards the roster. So it's like they're really working on expanding the brand. So, you know, those NFL teams are just going to continue to make big money. So, you know, salute to Charles Woodson, man. I hope Raider fans understand what this is. You know, it's an investment. You know, it's an investment. He gave us his, you know, blood, sweat, and tears for the Raider Nation in the black and silver. So I don't care where he goes. Go make your money. Go be able to take care of your family. Keep creating that generational wealth for, you know, I know he has like a few sons. I love it, man. I love it.
You know, there's 2 things that one of them I find weird. Another one, I'm kind of happy for is that, number one, what I find weird is why Mark Davis didn't give him the opportunity with the Raiders.
You're right.
Knowing that he already represents the organization.
Yeah.
You know, Woodson Whiskey as you know, Charles Woodson, you know, with his history, that in a marketing level is just, man, they could have done so much with them for 0.1%.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, I'm with you.
Awesome.
I'm with you.
You know,
I'm with you.
I understand the Cleveland connection. You know, it's his home state. I get it. You know, it's cool. It's understandable. But, you know, I think that probably would have been the smarter choice from the Raider organization. But, you know, at the end of the day, business is business. The thing that kind of gives me a sense of pride is that there's men of color joining the ranks.
Exactly.
You know, there are very few men of color within those ranks.
Yeah.
You know, and they're slowly getting in there. You know.
Yeah, slowly.
Percentage here, percentage there.
Yeah.
You know, that's great. That shows that the NFL, even though they're not opening the doors completely.
There's a long way to go. Long way to go.
It's cracking open, so there's progress.
Yeah.
You know, but I see that they understand where obviously they know where the best players come from, you know, and most players are players of color.
Yeah.
Like Al Davis. You know, and now, you know, coaching as well.
Yeah.
You know, and now obviously the at an ownership level.
Yep.
You know, because they know the benefits.
Oh yeah.
That these actions take within the league.
Yeah.
So, you know, I am definitely very proud of him. I'm disappointed that the Raiders didn't say, you know what, we'll give you 0.15%, you know, for the same amount.
Exactly. It just, I mean, when you're talking about just such a small percent, it's like, man, you know, and again, maybe we don't know the behind the scenes of it. You know, maybe they have talked about it, and you know, maybe Charles wanted to do something. I don't know, but I know as close as, you know, Mark and Charles is, I was surprised, but you know, I'm definitely not one of those fans that, you know, feel any bad because, you know, he's you know, went to the Browns or whatever.
Right? No, of course not, because at the end of the day, it's still the same league.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
They're still part of like the NFL family, so that's amazing. And Seawood, I salute you. You know, congratulations on your business endeavors. You know, I am definitely still going to be partaking in your Woodson whiskey, even though it might not have your image on it. Maybe which you know I love.
Yeah, but, we know what it is, though. We know what it is.
Yes, sir. You know, he's repped it from day one.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, it is what it is. You know, let's continue to support our Raider brother, because at the end of the day, he's still a Raider.
Oh, for sure. Yes,
sir. All right, so now let's go to the next topic, which is Christian Wilkins. Is he hurt? Is he not? What's the deal with that, man?
Yeah, I mean, from what I'm hearing, man, it sounded like just the recovery is going, you know, he kind of had a couple hiccups, whether it was maybe the screw kind of broke or maybe there was some issue with the bone. But the last that I heard, you know, everyone feels that, you know, he's going to be ready to go once, you know, camp starts and, you know, once we start playing the games and all that stuff. It doesn't seem like he's going to like miss any extended time. I just think they want to be able to take it slow. You know, not rush it, because we need him this year. You know,
yes, we do.
Last year, you know, 3 of our 4 starting linemen were out, you know, at one point, and for an extended period of time. So
not including all the other positions.
Exactly. So I'm all for, you know, taking it slow, because the thing is, he's a dog, and he's going to be a dog. Rushing him out there is not going to help. It's not a benefit for anyone. You know, let him heal correctly, because it's going to be a long season, and I'm hoping that we even can play into the playoffs at some point. But, you know, no reason to rush it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, because I've heard the whole spectrum from he's still not healed, but they're hiding it from us, to where it's just kind of like preventative.
Yeah.
Where he gets out there, he practices, but he puts it back on.
Yeah.
Just to be on the safe side. So, you know, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's more based on no NFL news, so they have to make something out of nothing.
Oh yeah. It's, you know, we're in May right now. You know, we're in May. You know, it's no reason to really get overly concerned. I think if they really, really had true concerns about it, then, you know, we may have did some things a little different in draft. You know, we may have, you know, got a defensive tackle a little bit earlier than we did, if that is the case. So, you know, I'm not overly concerned. So we'll see. See,
for me, being more of a pessimistic Raider fan, you know, I definitely would want him, if, let's say, for example, worst case scenario, he is still not 100%.
Yeah.
I would rather have him miss a couple of games
Me
at the
too.
beginning of the season.
Me too.
And have him be 100% fully functional.
Yeah.
And then putting him in, you know, with, let's say, with 75% ability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, if he re-aggravates, God knows how long he's going to be out.
Exactly.
And we can't afford that anymore.
Yeah.
We can't afford that.
Let him fully heal. You know, it kind of reminds me of like how it was with Jackson Powers Johnson. You know, like, you know, once we drafted JPJ, you know, and they found out about his injury.
Right.
You know, there were people that were a little concerned because, you know, he wasn't practicing and all this, and they were kind of like wanting him to rush back. And, you know, they didn't rush him back. They let him fully get healed. And then once he was ready to kind of get out there and start playing, he was a monster. So it's like, no reason to rush this guy back. You know, he's already proven that he can be a wrecking force as a DT. Let the guy heal. Raider Nation, we got to relax, man. We got to relax.
As I mention all the time, It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
You have to be patient. I know it's hard, and I sit here and I'm like, oh God, let's win, please. But we definitely have to be patient.
Yeah.
It seems like all the moves that our front office is doing, it's for the betterment of the team, not to hinder the team.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, hopefully it is just, just information that they're putting out there, because there is no news.
Yeah.
And let's say if he is hurt, let him sit out, let him get 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come in balling. And then, because if let's say if he doesn't, all the other tackles and all the other defensive line players are gonna hurt because of him. Because now the opposing teams aren't gonna have to prepare for him.
Exactly.
So then, Malcolm and everybody else it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right.
And
absolutely right.
I definitely don't want that to happen.
Yep.
But Christian, get well soon, brother. We need you. We
need you, man.
definitely need you. All right. Our next topic in Chris's Weekly Word: should we pick up a veteran wide receiver? There's a lot of rumors. They're talking about Keenan Allen. They're talking about Amari Cooper. Do you feel, Chris, that we actually need a veteran presence other than Jacoby Myers?
That's a good question. To me, for the right price, I would be okay with it. I'm very interested to see what some of our young dogs can do. I really want to see what, Jack Besh can do. I want to see what Dante Thornton can do. And of course, I love Jacoby Myers. So we have weapons, but, you can never have too many weapons. I think, if we can get somebody, in here, for one, most importantly, I want them to be a good locker room guy, be a good leader in that receiving room, a good veteran. I don't want no kind of diva. And honestly, like someone like Amari Cooper, I don't never look at him as any kind of a leader. He doesn't have like those leader qualities to me.
Like, he was good, but he was just kind of there.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can catch a ball, I can move, I can run.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, and that, when I'm thinking about him, it's just like, Keenan Allen, he's played a lot of great ball. Leadership skills, I'm not sure. I have to kind of dig into that, kind of what players feel about him. But if we do go the veteran route, it would have to be a guy that, is going to help these young guys, develop, who's not going to be a diva, not going to cry if he's not getting a whole bunch of targets and stuff like that. A guy that's going to do all the dirty work as well. He's not scared to block and catch the ball in the middle, stuff like that. Like, I just want a true veteran, hard-nosed, blue-collar guy. All that diva stuff, I'm cool with that. I don't want no parts of it.
Yeah, because me, like, for those two primary wide receivers, which is Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper, everybody's been talking about them. Obviously we know about Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
We know what he can do. We know what he can't do. And, again, like you're mentioning, for the right price, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Come on. But in the back end, we cannot have a distraction on the team, especially right now.
Right.
Because right now we're in a position, we're in a very frail position. We're in a position where, I think any little problem might just like bring the house of cards down.
Yeah.
And we do not need that right now.
Mm-mm.
Right now everybody's very positive. Everything looks like it's going in the right direction. And one bad piece in that cog could just ruin it. And I really don't want that to happen. I don't, because I have faith in our leadership. I have faith in our players to do the right thing and to bring us out of obscurity where we've been for so many years.
Yeah.
And bringing in one of these players just because they're a name, just because they're a veteran, I don't see it, man.
I'm with you.
But if there is a player out there, a wide receiver, veteran wide receiver that you think could help the team, who would it be? Would it be any of these two, or is there anybody else that you probably have in mind that we haven't talked about?
I would have to kind of look and see who's all out there, honestly.
Because there's not much, right?
There's some names, that are out there. I'm trying to think, man, because I do like Keenan Allen. Like I said, as far as a guy that can, still has a little bit left in the tank, Keenan Allen is a name. But yeah, I would probably have to kind of look and see. But again, no matter who it is, it's going to have to be a guy that's, it's going to have to be budget friendly. Like I'm not. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not interested in paying big money for anything like that.
Yeah. And right now, it seems like our team isn't in that mindset of like, you know what, let's give them millions, let's bring them in. We're not there. We're about prove it deals.
Yeah.
We're about 1 year deals. Let's just get him in here and see what he can do. If he can prove himself, then okay, we'll talk about it in the future.
Yeah.
But like for me, Keenan Allen, I guess my only thing with him is he is an amazing player. Can't deny that.
Yeah.
I hated the fact when he was with the Chargers, that he had hands. He was able to make plays. So I know we can benefit with that, but something rubs me wrong about him. What it is, I don't know.
Who, Keenan Allen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What it is, I don't know. One
thing I do like he's a guy who's been real consistent in the league for a long time. He's a good route runner. Like he's known for his routes, and he's played, in the slot. He's played on the outside, so he has some versatility. So he's actually a type of guy that could help, a young Jack Besh. But again, like to me, it's all about, what do you bring to the locker room? What do you bring as a leader? What do you bring as someone who could be looked at as, a captain type? I know it's probably too late to, be bringing in someone that's going to be a captain, but at least someone who still holds himself, accountable and actually presents himself as a captain. So, we'll see. But again, it's all about the money.
Definitely, because Amari Cooper, he was good when he first came, but
I'm cool on Amari.
He doesn't have that fire though, man.
No, he doesn't. He's very soft, man. He's very soft.
I don't see the leadership capabilities in him, which is what we need right now.
No, and honestly, living in Ohio, again, my best friend and my dad, they're Browns fans. Even last year, we would hear about, how Mark, like before he got traded, not giving it his all in practice. I mean, I think there was one press conference, he kind of alluded to it, like, I got to work harder in practice. Like, you are a vet, man. You've been in this league for way too long to have any kind of, dogging it in practice. Is like, I don't want no parts of that. And I know someone like Max isn't going to have no parts of it. Pete Carroll's not going to have no parts of it. Like, no, I'm cool on that.
And then the thing is that I think to me is what would be the best terminology to use. It's kind of like polluting the well.
Right.
Where everything is going right, everything looks good, and then you come and just screw it up with one individual, and then it becomes contagious, and then the next thing you know, you have disgruntled players, and
exactly.
we don't need that. We do not need
exactly.
that. So as far as Amari Cooper, no.
Yeah. But it's not like he's like a diva, like he would be like a problem in that way. But it's just like, what value will he really bring at this point in his career? So we got some, like Jacoby Myers is known as just a great locker room guy, a great teammate. Jack Besh is known as that as well, like through his college ranks. Brock Bowers is known as just a blue collar lunch pail type of guy. Like you got all these hard workers that just put their head down and just work. Like,
then we got Michael Mayer as well.
Yeah, Michael Mayer. It's like, let's kind of keep this nucleus. Now, if we find out we can't move the ball and receivers aren't getting no separation, then okay, then maybe we can take a look at some other guys out there. But let's see what we have first.
Yeah, so hopefully the Raider organization, as they've been showing us, they will make the right decision for us. Because I know that if they bring in the wrong player, the Raider Nation is going to let them know immediately.
Yeah.
Because we are in a very fragile position as fans.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to take it.
No.
And we're going to let you know immediately.
Yeah.
So, Raider organization, please do the right thing. Please make the right choice, because we deserve it as Raider fans.
Oh my gosh, we do.
All right, so enough of that. Let's go to our next topic, which is a topic that I've had heard of recently, but didn't get the opportunity to actually dive into it till this past weekend at the Raider Nation Summer Kickoff. I got to meet Lunatic Raider.
Shout out to Lil.
Yeah, shout out, brother. You know, it was cool hanging with you. You know, and I got to talk to you a little bit. You know, got to learn about your project, which is RaiderVision.com.
Yeah.
So Raider Nation, if you haven't heard of RaiderVision.com, check it out. Lunatic Raider has set this website up for everything Raider Nation, from tickets to events to ourselves, the content creators, everything in one place. You know, I think it's great. I would have loved to create something like this, but I ain't got time for that. But, you know, I'm glad somebody in the Raider Nation had the time, the energy, and the effort to create something like this.
Yeah.
You know, go check it out, please. Raider Vision, you know, he just recently added me on there as one of the content creators. So you can click on there, myself, Chris, I think 805's on there, the War Room, you name it. And he's adding content creators left and right. I just saw he just added Cheeto Linus not too long ago. And it's just a great website.
It is.
To where if you don't know where to go, what to do, go there.
Yeah.
RaiderVision.com. Check it out.
Welcome to Raider Vision, the official digital heartbeat of Raider Nation. More than just a website, Raider Vision is a movement, a platform where superfans, content creators, and die-hard loyalists unite under one shield. Here we honor the past, amplify the present, and empower the future of Raider culture. One story, one stream, one battle cry at a time. From exclusive game coverage and content drops, to fan tributes, travel tools, and the legends that shape the nation. This is the home of the committed, the loud, the loyal, the unapologetically silver and black. Our mission is simple: to elevate Raider Nation beyond the field, into a digital dynasty. Just win, baby. Welcome to RaiderVision.com.
Any experiences that you've had with Lunatic that you might want to let the Raider Nation know about?
Yeah, no, Loon's, I remember when I first started, you know, in the content creating, Loon's been doing it for a while, you know, and one thing I always respect about him is just his originality. Again, I don't even know how much you know about him, man, but he has so many talents. He has like a puppet show. I don't know if you ever saw it.
No, I haven't.
He literally has a puppet that he does. It's like, I forgot his name, Stan or something. Funny as heck, man. Funny as heck. Like, the dude, I mean, Loon he's very talented, man. He's very talented, heck of a personality. He knows ball. So it's like he has a good balance of, you know, joking around and playing and keeping it light. But then he can speak to the details, you know, like I do, and he can speak to the history, like he knows football. So it's, you know, having someone like that in Raider Nation, you know, I always value people like that because, because he's not a cookie cutter type guy. You know, he's, you know, he just brings something different to the table. So in this website that he has, I know he's just now getting it off the ground, but that thing is going to be special. So salute to Loon.
Yes, sir. Salute to him. Definitely anything that makes the Raider Nation stronger, more informed, more communication amongst us. I think it's definitely a plus and something that we definitely need.
Yeah.
Because Raider Nation is everywhere.
Exactly.
You know? And sometimes, you know, we need that place to go to be able to find out where the events are, to be able to find out where the booster clubs are, to be able to find out, you know, if there's anything going on. You know, that is definitely a place to check out. So Raider Nation, again, RaiderVision.com. Check it out. I'll have the information up here. Check out Lunatic Raider. He also has his page on YouTube. Check him out. You know, he is, like Chris mentioned, very knowledgeable when it comes to Raider ball. And again, he is trying to unify the Raider Nation with this website. So whenever you get an opportunity, check it out, sign up, help him out any which way you can, because he's helping us out tremendously.
Absolutely.
Okay, and finally, for Chris's weekly word, we have the summer kickoff recap. For those that you might not know, This past weekend, the Raider Crusaders had their 10th annual, 11, that's 10 and one more, annual kickoff event in Bakersfield, California. If you guys don't know where Bakersfield is, it's basically north of the LA area, you know, I couldn't say it's rural anymore.
Yeah.
It is pretty congested. There's a lot more people there, but you know, it's definitely a drive. You know, I went, it's about 2.5 hour drive from Long Beach area, you know, and it was a great event. And like I mentioned earlier in the introduction, even though Chris wasn't there, Chris was the talk of the town. You know, Chris was in everybody's mouth. At least all the content creating brothers and sisters that were there, everybody was talking about him. And let me tell you, Chris is held in the highest regard because of, number one, the individual that he is, number two, the knowledge that he has, and number three, what he brings to the Raider Nation. You know, yeah, there was a couple of conversations there of, you know, Chris after dark, but, you know, we ain't going to get into that.
Yeah, that's it.
We're going to talk about the positives because whatever happens in Vegas or Baltimore stays there.
Yeah, that's true.
But basically, that event was a really awesome event. Chris, you were definitely missed, brother.
Yeah.
You know, you were definitely missed, and hopefully you can make it out at least to one, you know.
Yeah.
Just to come through. But like I told you, my house is open to you. We can cruise on up there. You know, let's make a plan for it. But in a synopsis of the event, you know, it's basically a tailgate in May. In Bakersfield. You know, just content creators, super fans, booster clubs, Raider fans, merch. They had Jeremy Chin doing autograph signing. They had Raider alumni. It was, oh my God, it was Jay Schrader and Mike Alexander. They were there also doing their thing. You know, Mike Alexander, shout out to you. Yeah. He actually reached out to me because he saw the interview I did in the Raider Nation Roll Call with Lorenzo from the Raider Crusaders. Hey, man, I didn't get an invitation. And I was like, wait, but you go to every event. Michael Alexander, he is the epitome of a Raider alumni that supports the Raider Nation.
Love it.
At the majority of the events that I've attended, he's there. And he's doing his thing. You know, he talks, he takes pictures, he signs autographs. He does what an alumni should do. In the Raider Nation. And you know, he did it. I connected him with Lorenzo. They set it up. He showed up. It was awesome. And it was a great event. They let me see, from the beginning, entrance was easy. Walk in, shows your ticket, boom, walk, you know, come through the door. Vendors left and right. There was you know, the usual vendors that are there. I can't recollect their names at the moment, but great vendors, great merch. Cheeto, I know, had his booth there. What's IKB Pins was there. I met him actually at Power Raider, and Matt from West Coast Pirates birthday party. Raider pins, dope pins. Shout out to you, my brother. Yeah. And then everybody else in the merch industry within the Raider Nation were there. OG Madi was there. So, you know, it was packed with merch. They had food. They had trucks out there selling, you know, tacos and stuff, and drinks, and different like juices and stuff. They had carnival games for the kids. They had a bounce house for the kids. Obviously, the amazing rides that Raider fans, you know, trick out their cars. They had them parked out there, showing off their stuff.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, man, it was great. They had their little VIP area. Raider Nation, like always, the artist of the Raider Nation was there doing his thing. Nice. Andy from Andy's Raider merch was there, but only as a spectator, not as a vendor. Okay. Obviously, we had all the content creators. We had Raider Nation Live, Jay Raider. We had obviously 2/3 of the Raider War Room, but it seemed like Chris was there anyway because, you know, everybody was talking about him. Joe Morley, Josh Go. Condolences again, brother, for your loss. They actually did a remembrance and memorial to Josh's wife, They did a balloon release in her memory, and then I believe they also did a video slideshow. I wasn't in there for it, but I heard about it, and it was definitely a tearjerker because the Raider Nation lost a member of the Raider Nation, and that was sad. But it was also great that the Raider Nation took the time to remember her, because we're all family, no matter what, football or not, Raider Nation or not, loss is loss.
Yeah.
So we had that, and then Jay Schrader and Mike Alexander actually did like a Q&A about their time as Raider players, and I believe I didn't catch that because I was with the content creators outside.
Yeah.
They were talking about their experiences as Raider players.
Oh.
And I believe Jay Schrader was talking about, one of his best memories was handing the ball off to Bo.
Yeah.
When they played together and watching them cook.
Yeah.
And Mike Alexander was telling his stories as well, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
And then obviously Jeremy Chin came out, and he did his autograph signing, and he was baptized into the Raider Nation by Raider fans.
Yeah.
And was taught how to do the Raider chant, because from what I heard
the first one wasn't too good.
Yeah, it wasn't. But when I was in high school, I was in ROTC, and one of our drill instructors always told us, perfect practice makes perfect performance.
Yeah.
So he practiced it, and towards the end, when they were giving his thank yous and goodbyes, he grabbed the mic and he said, "Hold up," and he went, "Raider." He called it out, man. Everybody went crazy.
There we go.
Loved it. So I think Jeremy Chin is definitely going to be a great addition to the Raider Nation.
Yeah, they're saying he's already cooking in minicamp and OTA. I mean, he's already showing. I think got an interception already, and just playing good ball.
Yes, sir. So he's definitely somebody to look at. And just like Lorenzo from Raider Crusaders mentioned, if you didn't get his autograph at that event, you're going to be kicking yourself, because he's going to be somebody.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's definitely going to be somebody with the Raider Nation.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it was that, and then all the content creators were doing their thing. Joe Morley, Baker Raider, man, there was just so many. It was just so awesome to have everybody under one roof and just chopping it up and getting to meet each other. And I talked to a couple of the content creators. We're going to do some collabs and going to work together and support each other, and just make the Raider Nation stronger than it is already. So that again was just amazing.
Yeah.
The last thing that happened was, if you're not familiar with them, there's I want to say an East rap group called Lighter Shade of Brown.
Mm-hmm.
They were very popular here in Southern California, in the West Coast. They have a couple of cool songs.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs is Homies, which is my best friend's song. If you haven't heard it, check it out on YouTube. Homies, Lighter Shade of Brown. It depicts basically two best friends going through their youth.
Yeah.
And that's basically my best friend and my life story right there.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of great songs. Unfortunately, I missed it because they ended up coming out too late, and I had to roll back home because the event was on Saturday and I had family day Sunday, so I had to have the energy to roll with the family on Sunday all day. So we missed it, but from what I hear, it was a great event.
Yeah.
Again, Lorenzo, Raider Crusader, shout out to you guys. I hope, like we mentioned in the Raider Nation roll call, this wasn't like your curtain call, but more the end of the first act going to the second act.
Yeah.
Because we need these events in the Raider Nation.
Absolutely.
Did you hear anything about this event, Chris, from like 805 and Severe? Because I know they were there.
Yeah, no, everyone that I talked to, and again, I was able to kind of watch some of the live stream from, Coach Baby. Yeah, so I was watching that, and I saw you on the camera a couple times as you was passing by. Yeah, talked to Myra, talked to all my people. They all really had a lot of great stuff to say. They said it was just people were there in good spirits, having a good time, all fellowshipping over the Raiders, man. So whenever you get that, man, it's never it's always a good thing. So I loved hearing that. Loved hearing that.
And you know what? Shout out to Myra G, because she actually she beelined it to me.
Yeah.
She's like, "What's up? I'm here." Chris told me that you saw me at Ricky's, but I was just walking out while you were walking in.
Yeah, I told her that.
You know, and she came straight up to me. We chopped it up. We hung out. Myra, salute to you.
Yeah.
You are an amazing individual.
Oh, yeah.
You are definitely, at least in my eyes, the first lady of the Raider Nation.
Oh, for sure.
You are linked up with everybody.
Supporting everybody, you know, she's like the big sister, little sister. I mean, she looks out for us, and you know, even when, you know, I'm partying and I'm acting up, sometimes she'll reel me back in. So that's my sister right there, man. She's good.
Yeah, man. She is definitely an awesome individual. Definitely somebody that I would love to get to know more, just as you have, Chris. You know, she is definitely dope. Raider Nation, if you ever get a chance to meet Myra G, hit her up, tell her that Chris, Dub Raider, you know, we've spoken highly of her. She is, again, the first lady of the Raider Nation in my eyes. You know, she is cool as hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the summer kickoff was a success. You know, everybody had a great time. Man, I just hope it doesn't end anytime soon.
Oh yeah, he's just getting started, man. Getting started.
You know, and they actually have 3 other events coming up for the season. They have the home opener, which we're going to be at. Yeah. You know, they're going to be doing an event in Vegas. They're going to be doing a shuttle and tailgate for the Cowboy game. So
I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be setting up a shuttle from the Bakersfield area, shuttling everybody over to Vegas. Tailgate, I don't know if hotel, but tailgate's going to be included. You know, you're going to be able to party. You got to get your own ticket. And they're going to take you back. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then they're also going to have another LA takeover for the LA Chargers Raiders game here in LA. Obviously, you know, we always rock that one. So, you know, they have those 3 events up and coming. And again, Lorenzo, keep it going, brother. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Help and support will be there. I can guarantee you.
Yeah.
You can definitely count on us. We will definitely support you 100%. But yeah, so summer kickoff was amazing. I actually, the Raider Nation roll call, I did a special episode on the event. It's out now. Go check it out.
It's a great episode. Episode.
It was cool, man. You know, I try not to do any interviews. I just try to show the event as I saw it, you know, as I experienced it. I'm walking around, as I'm seeing things, experiencing everything. I want you guys to see the same thing. And hopefully next year you'll be there.
Yeah.
You know, and join us and, you know, party, drink, eat, dance, do everything that the Raider Nation does very well.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very well. But yeah, man, so, you know, again, summer kickoff, amazing event. Amazing event. And any closing thoughts on the summer kickoff, Chris?
No, I mean, I think you're spot on, man. I think, you know, it's just one of those things that's needed. I think it's a good opportunity for Raider fans to kind of get excited, you know, before training camp. And, you know, we've had so many bad seasons, and, you know, it's hard to be a Raider fan. So, you know, you get events like this, we get fired up, have good fellowship, and it's definitely needed. So you know, salute to Lorenzo and that whole team is putting that together. It's fire.
Yeah, I saw that he was on the War Room a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, yep. So it was good.
Dope. So yeah, again, salute Raider Crusaders, salute Lorenzo. Great event. Keep it going, my brother. All right, Raider Nation. Well, that concludes Chris's weekly word for this week. Now we move on to a subject that we've missed for a couple of weeks because, you know, we've been a little sidetracked, but we have Football 101.
Yep.
For those that haven't seen Football 101 or don't know what Football 101 is, it's basically what it says. It's a general understanding of what football is, because not all of us are like Chris. You know, they don't have that knowledge, they don't have that experience of actually playing ball, and, you know, we need a little help, and that's why Chris is here, because he has that knowledge, he has that understanding, he has that perspective that can help us, you know, become a little bit more knowledgeable, a little bit more understanding of why coaches and teams do what they do and not just, come up with our own conclusions based on what we see on the screen. Because what we see on the screen is maybe 30%, 40% of what actually goes on.
Yeah.
The field, coaches' decisions and whatnot. So, it is definitely very important. And we want to bring this to you, as kind of like a public service announcement. So this week's Football 101 is basically covering coaching staff. Because we all understand that there's the head coach, there's the offensive coordinator, there's a defensive coordinator. Oh, it's special teams.
Yeah.
But under them, there's also an umbrella of a lot of other coaching individuals that make the team what it is. And this is what I'm asking Chris to help us with today, is to give us a brief and general understanding of what the coaching staff is.
Yeah, so, like as you said, everyone kind of knows, who the head coach is. So that's Pete Carroll. And then, he's the top of the food chain. And then, kind of from there, if just looking at the org chart, you got the offensive coordinator, which is Chip Kelly. And then you got the defensive coordinator, which is Patrick Graham. And each one of those coaches, they have assistants. And their assistants are basically covering each position, that's on, their respective side of the ball. So, like if you're looking at Chip Kelly, he has, a quarterback coach. And these position coaches are important because these are the guys that really spend most of that intimate time with our players. Right. So like when you look at, Greg Olsen, who is our quarterback coach, he's always with the quarterback. So he's really going to be spending more time with Gino than maybe Chip Kelly because, Chip Kelly has to worry about the offense holistically. So he has to spend time, with the quarterbacks, with the running backs, with the wide receivers, with the linemen, the tight. So he has to kind of be able to, oversee everything. But like those quarterback coaches and position coaches, those are the guys that really have those bonds with those players, like Max Crosby used to always talk about, his favorite defensive line coach, which was Rod Marinelli, and like you'll hear him talk. If you ever listen to some of his interviews, he brings up, Marinelli all the time because he really got intimate relationship with him because that's who he spent a lot of time with. So to me it's always cool to kind of understand who the position coaches are. So again, if I'm going on the offense, Greg Olsen, he's a quarterback coach. He was a quarterback coach for Derek Carr, back in the day as well. I forgot which coach brought him in. I don't know if it was under Gruden at one point. I don't remember. And then the assistant quarterback coach is actually one of Pete Carroll's sons, Nate Carroll, so he's one of the assistant coaches. And we got a running back coach, Dylan McCullough, wide receiver coach, Chris Beatty, Luke Steckel is the tight ends coach. And then actually another Pete Carroll's son is actually the offensive line coach and the run game coordinator. So
like in the offensive line, because, we have the tackles and we have the ends. Are there independent coaches for those positions, or is it just like an offensive line coach? Yeah,
usually it's so they'll have an offensive line coach, and then there's an assistant line coach. But usually they're all kind of working together, for the most part. So, but maybe the offensive line coach may focus on a certain area, but then his assistant is may focus on another area, so they're kind of working cohesively. So yeah, that's kind of how that is. And then on top of that, then there's like overall offensive assistants and like a senior offensive assistant, like Joe Feldman. He was actually one of the senior assistants last year, and they retained him to kind of be in the same role this year. So he's more like almost kind of like a consultant, been in the league for a long time. He's not necessarily coaching, in the trenches, but he's, kind of there as a consultant, giving, ideas and pointers and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, and that's something that a lot of the Raider Nation doesn't understand, that it's not just the head coach and he runs the whole thing. He's like the CEO.
Right.
Of the offensive and defensive lines,
right,
or the defensive positions, and he delegates authority
Yeah.
to the offensive and defensive coaches, and then they delegate authority on down the road.
Yeah.
You know, and then it goes from there. So like on the defensive side, because you know you spoke about the offense.
Yeah.
Is it just as broken down as the offense?
Yeah,
like,
it is. Yes.
line?
Yeah, so you know, you got Patrick Graham, and then you got I think Joe Woods. I think Joe Woods is like the defensive back coach, and then Marcus Robertson. He's another defensive back coach. John Glenn, linebacker coach. Rob Leonard. You know, you always hear a lot of talk about Robbie Leonard. He's going to be a future defensive coordinator. If we have a good defense this year, we're going to lose him. He got interviews as a defensive coordinator in other places. He's a real fiery guy. I love hearing him talk. Max Crosby loves him. So just know we got a good defensive line coach this year, but he will likely be going next year and he'll be promoted somewhere else. I'm trying to think who else. Kenyon Jackson, I think he's an assistant defensive line coach. Ty McKenzie, he's like the defensive assistant, and Rip Rowan, another defensive assistant. So it's kind of broken down the same way.
Right.
And again, a lot of these guys' names you may not really know because they're just getting themselves in. And honestly, like for instance, AP, before he got promoted to head coach, you know, the interim head coach, he was a linebacker coach, you know, so he was a guy that really got a lot of credit for getting the most out of Robert Spillane. You know, he really was able to kind of enhance his game. And another thing about these position coaches, a lot of times those position coaches are the ones that's kind of making the decision on who makes the team and who doesn't. You know, so, you know, if you ever watch the Hard Knocks special, you know, with the different teams in the NFL, you know, a lot of times you'll see, you know, the guys sitting at a round table, all the coaches, and, you know, a Pete Carroll will say, hey, you know, let's talk linemen. You know, I want to keep about 7 linemen. You know, give me your 7 linemen. Who's going to make the cut, and tell me why. You know, so it's, you know, just like any business, you know, you're conducting any kind of board meeting, you know, each individual sector has to be able to speak to their part of the business and give you the pros, the cons, and, you know, it's ran just like that. You know, people may not know these guys' name, but it's definitely important. They play a huge piece in the big picture of what's going on.
And let me ask you, as far as decision making of that sort, you know, you definitely have to have a high level of trust in the individuals under you. Yeah. So with every regime, do they always bring in new coaching staff, or is there like a vetting process, an interview process to be like, well, you were here last year, so you might be able to help us with, you know, the existing players, or, you know what, I don't know you, so I'm going to bring somebody new into that position because I know this dude, I know the way he thinks. You know, is there like a particular like way of doing that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So a lot of the coaches, they bring in, typically they like to bring in their own people, you know, people that they've coached with before, people that they trust, because again, like I said, you know, you can't be everywhere at the same time. So you got to be able to talk to your guys and have them make the right decision. Because every year you get teams that cut someone who get cut and they go to another team and ball out. Oh, and the coach is like, we had that guy, why did we let him go? You know, you got to be able to have the right guys in place that can identify the right talent. You know, that's important. And that's the reason why the Raiders are always kind of struggling, because year in, year out, we're always switching coaches. So, you know, we may have a coach one year, he brings his guys in, we fire him, a new coach comes in, he brings all his new people in. So therefore, that ultimately hurts the players, because the players are learning. Continuity. So, you know, they're learning different lingo, learning different techniques. You know, those good teams like the Chiefs and, you know, Steelers, stuff like that, like they had that continuity where, you know, they're not learning something new every year. You're just kind of building off of what you already have. And that's what good teams do. So, I hope that answered your question.
One thing that like, I guess confuses me personally is that I understand that a head coach is gonna bring in his people because they work well together. They kind of like have the similar thought process, mindset, whatever you want to call it. But the players are different. You know, like let's say for example, Pete Carroll, he brought in some of his people from Seattle, brought in his kids. You know, yeah, and they know each other from back then, and obviously from family ties. But the players in the Raider organization are different players than what they had in Seattle.
Yeah.
Now, how does that translate to them picking the right players for the team? Being that, you know, these guys already have like some chemistry together, and we are coming from outside, and how are we going to be able to bring those two entities together and make it a successful team?
No, good question. You know, it's just like, again, just like in business, it's like you want to hire guys that kind of have the same vision as you. So therefore, yeah, the employees might be different. Right. You know, like if I'm, you know, a manager at an Amazon, and I'm moving to Netflix or whatever, you know, and I want to bring my people over from Amazon, like, yeah, there may be different employees under us, but at least the guys that I bring over, the other like leadership, they at least know my vision, and they can execute that vision the way that I see it. So yeah, the employees may be different, but at least my leadership team that I got, they at least know my vision, and we're going to see it the same way, and hopefully get it going in the right direction. And it doesn't always happen like that, because sometimes you'll go to a new company and you're like, hey, you know, there's a couple guys here that, you know, I wouldn't mind retaining. You know, they seem sharp and they seem like, you know, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think ultimately that's kind of how it works. It's like you just want to get guys that share your vision. And that's why you see, you know, honestly, that's why for the Patriots, you get Mike Vrabel, you know, people probably thought he was crazy, but who did he choose as his offensive coordinator? Josh McDaniels, you know, because that's somebody that he knows he trusts.
Right.
And I think Josh McDaniels is going to go over there and be a heck of an offensive coordinator because he's a great coordinator. It's just he
pulled a lot of Raider players.
Exactly.
Which he knows.
Yeah.
And which he knows what type of production they're going to bring the team. So brought him over. Yeah,
and that's how it works. And honestly, and even when he coached, you know, like even the people that he brought from the Patriots, like people was having a conniption because he brought so many Patriots over. But like that's what guys do, you know. Like I'm glad he brought over a Jacoby Myers. Like people in the NFL didn't really know about Jacoby Myers, but the thing is, McDaniels knew, you know, from hey, this guy is going to be a great locker room guy, X, Y, and Z. You know, so it's just little stuff like that, man. It's you just want to be around people you trust.
Definitely. No, I definitely understand that. It was a bit confusing to me because obviously there's two sides of the spectrum. There's the players, which in my eyes, they're more of the creative aspect of the game because it's not something that, you know, it's kind of like something everybody can do. You know, this is a specialized job, a specialized position.
It's true.
You know, you either have it or you don't.
It's true.
And then on the other side, the management aspect of it, you know, how do you manage individuals like this?
Yeah.
You know, you have to have the right balance of both the creative and the management side to be able to mesh together to come up with something good.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I think the Raiders in the past have faltered a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
That combination was never right, you know. Yeah, there was little glimpses here and there that, you know what, this player did well, but, you know, the rest of the players or, you know, a percentage of the players didn't. And that's why I think it's so important for the Raider Nation to know that, you know, you can't just blame the head coach. You can't just blame the coordinators because there's so many people under, even the scouts.
Yeah.
These are the individuals that go out there and start looking at these players way even before they even join the league.
Yeah.
And they're taking these individuals' word as, you know, decision-making point when they, you know, they hire somebody, when they draft somebody, when they pick up a free agent. You know, it's all these individuals that a lot of the Raider Nation, we don't know that this occurs. We might have some inkling of, oh yeah, there is the special teams coordinator, there is the assistant this, the assistant that, but there are a lot of cogs within the Raider coaching area that have so many decision making abilities or recommendations for the head coaches to make.
Yeah.
Now, another point I wanted to ask you about is, like, obviously there's a head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. That's the top triangle. There's also the assistant head coach. What do these individuals do when teams have them? What do they do? Are they like the operations people? Are they the gophers for the head coach? What do they do?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they're kind of just like a consultant as well. That's kind of like what Marvin Lewis was for AP.
Right.
He's, specifically, hearing Marvin Lewis kind of talk about it, he was just there to help AP. Whatever AP felt he needed, he wasn't a guy that's going to, like, come in and make decisions or anything or overrule anyone. It's more or less just having that advisor, kind of next to you, kind of help you manage the game.
And is that usually the case with assistant head coaches, or just because in our case with AP, first time coach, no experience, he needed that.
Yeah, he needed that.
That knowledge. But, like, let's say, for example, right now, Pete Carroll, does he have an assistant head coach?
I don't think he has, like, an assistant head coach. I just believe, the coordinators have, like a defense assistant or offensive assistant. But yeah, I don't think he actually named anyone as a assistant head coach. But again, if he did, it would just be more of like a guy that he trusts, just having like having another set of eyes, just kind of bounce ideas off of. Again, Pete's been coaching for 3 decades, so it's not like it's a situation where he's, like he's not ready or anything like that. But, it's all like, no matter what, I mean, Belichick, everyone has a guy, like a trusted advisor where they're like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What's your thoughts? And they'll hear him out. And whether they want to move forward with it or not, at least someone to bounce ideas off of. I think that's more or less what an assistant does. Like, for instance, I think Mike Vrabel, he actually held that position with the Browns last year. Yeah, he was just like, assistant head coach. Again, more of a, consultant.
Yeah, because that's actually the individual I was gonna target right now. Is like, case in point, Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
He's been a head coach before. Yeah. He's now the head coach of the Patriots. If there is an individual under him, it would be more than likely on a support advisory position, correct?
Yeah.
And then that individual doesn't hold positions over the coordinators, correct?
Not per se. It's not like they don't report to the assistant head coach. Right. Again, it's more or less like a dotted line type. Just like they're almost like board members. When I think about just in a corporate organization, you may have someone that's over the board who gives advice and all that stuff, but they don't necessarily run the show. So
Right. Okay. No, that makes perfect sense, Chris. Thank you for that information.
No, for sure.
I was definitely in the dark. I understood that there was a lot of other coaches under the coordinators, but I didn't understand quite the importance of it. I thought it was more like somebody that took orders to fulfill a particular action.
Yeah.
But no, they have more responsibility than that.
Yeah. And all organizations aren't the same. I mean, there's some that those guys have a different role than others, And again, and I think that was a perfect example. Like with AP, he was a rookie head coach, so therefore, he had a few advisors, guys that have been head coaches before that kind of help him with certain things. Whereas,
what was that coach from the Giants, right? His old coach.
Oh yeah, Coughlin. Yeah, Tom Coughlin. Yeah, had him around. So and again, someone like Pete doesn't necessarily need that, but he's still going to have guys that he trusts. Saying, "Hey, I see it this way. How do you see it?" Just another set of eyes to look at it.
That's cool, man. Yeah. So Raider Nation, there is more to coaching than just what we see on TV or at the stadium when we go. So next time, you want to pass judgment on our coaching staff for a bad play that they called or something that they did, remember, it's not only them. There is definitely a large group of individuals that had some say-so in these decisions.
Absolutely.
So, and anything else you want to add on the coaching staff, Chris?
No. I mean, I think that's it. You're right. The coaching staff. I mean, just the organization as a whole. It's a very layered, situation. You can never just blame one player or one person. And that's one thing that kind of drives me nuts. Is like people always want to blame one person. It's a collective. And even when you look at like Mark Davis, people want to just point their finger at him all the time. You can't, even though he is at the end of the day the overall owner, CEO of the team. So, Buck kind of has stopping him, but it's so many different layers of the organization that you can never just pinpoint it on one person ever.
Right. Yeah, there's so many facets, and technically he is the figurehead, but not the owner. Technically.
No, you're right.
That's his mama.
Yeah, Carol.
Yeah, she still owns the Raiders.
Yeah.
But he is definitely figurehead. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
We'll definitely talk about Mark Davis. But Chris, thank you for that information.
No problem, man.
You definitely helped me understand more about the coaching staff in Raider Nation. I hope this helped you out as well. This concludes Football 101 for this week. If you have any topics, anything that you want to learn about football that you quite don't understand or have some questions, please drop us a line, DM us, social media, anywhere, or leave a comment here. Let us know what you're interested in knowing about or interested in us talking about, and we will definitely get it out to you as soon as we can. With that, this concludes this week's Raider Nation Weekly Wire. Chris, let us know what you got going, brother, because I know you are a busy man. You've had some amazing interviews with Raider alum, with future Raider players, obviously the War Room. You've got it going on, brother. Let us know what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I had, a good show with Mitchell Rentz.
That's right.
Yeah. Me and Mitchell had a great conversation. He's a guy that is well respected in the Raider content community world. He's probably the most viewed. So definitely had, if you guys didn't get an opportunity, check out my show I had with him. Like you said, had interviews with John Joyner.
Another one to look out for.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I'm excited about him. But yeah, I'm just grinding, man. I'm just grinding. Got my show with the War Room. Got my show with Spicy Raider Girl on Wednesdays. Still kind of getting my show together. Been still trying to figure out, if I really want to do, or I might want to wait and do it closer to the training camp. But there's more stuff to talk about. Because during this time of year, you're just kind of reaching for content.
Yeah.
So that's why I love what we're doing, because we're kind of taking it back to the essence, taking it back to the football 101. And I enjoy talking about that stuff, because there's a lot of casual fans that just like watching the game, but don't understand why things happen the way they do. So I absolutely love our show.
I'm one of them.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
that's
learning.
awesome. That's awesome. And then I got some more stuff that I'm that I'm working on that's going to be coming out real soon. So make sure you guys subscribe to me, hit the bell notification, just so you guys know whenever I'm going live, man.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, I just saw on YouTube, there was this advertisement through Raider Allegiance, which is a Lunatics page. It has the War Room on there. Are you guys doing a collab or something?
For what? We're actually, we're all going to be on his show tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
All three of us, we're going to be on his show, just talking ball, man. So all three of us plus Lunatic Raider, man. So, and I think I'm probably have some adult beverages, so that this might be one that you might want to.
Oh, it's gonna be on and popping. Raider Nation. By the time you see this episode, that episode would have dropped. So just go straight to Chris's page or Lunatic Raiders page, which is, I believe, Raider Allegiance.
Yeah, Raider Allegiance. Yeah.
Check it out. If Lunatic is on there, Raider War Room is on there, It's definitely going to be a party, let me tell you.
Must watch TV.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Chris, again, thank you.
Yep.
Raider Nation, you know how we do. We do Raider Nation Weekly Wire once a week. Drops on Sundays at noon. Don't miss it. I have, like I said, the Raider Nation roll call dropped for the summer kickoff event. Check that one out. Like, subscribe. I know I keep on saying this. It keeps on getting postponed. But Stogie Nation, we're recording this Monday.
Nice.
Legacy of the Shield guaranteed me. There was some family things. I don't mess with family things. Family comes first, you know, but we've set it to where this Monday, I think it's Memorial Day, we're going to get together and we're going to record our first episode together. So I will be announcing that on social media. It will be coming out. We're going to be doing a cigar review. We're going to be chopping it up, kind of get to know each other, you know, in the cigar realm.
Yeah.
I am definitely looking forward in the near future to doing a Stogie Nation episode with Coach Gravy, because he and I clicked with cigars at Summer Kickoff.
Yeah.
So, Coach, if you're watching this,
salute the Gravy. Salute the Gravy.
Yes, sir. You know that is a man that knows his sticks, and you know, I really appreciate that, and I definitely want to interact and you know, chop it up, you know, when it comes to sticks. So that's coming up.
Yeah, I know he had like some health things he was going through.
Yeah.
Does he still smoke them?
Yeah. He still smokes cigars, you know, because he's actually doing a live show during the days right now around 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And you know, he's puffing away. You know.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I just didn't know with the, you know, things that he was going through, so I was just curious.
Yeah, don't quote me on this, but I think it's more of physical ailment than actual, like, you know, internal. Okay. But yeah, so, you know, Coach, I'll be hitting you up.
Salute Gravy, man. Salute Gravy.
You know, and all the content creators, you know, that I met up at Summer Kickoff, definitely gonna be chopping it up with you guys. Definitely gonna be inviting you guys to the Raider Nation roll call, you know, and getting the word of the Raider Nation out there. So, Raider Nation, thank you again for being here. Like, subscribe, follow. Chris, Protect the Shield, Dub Raider. Remember, everything we do for the nation, by the nation. Peace.